Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Vijender Singh Tawar, Associate Professor in English. In the series of the lecture which I have just started, I have decided to give you the detailed summary of the novel Azadi, composed by Chaman Nair. As I told you in the last video, that this novel is divided into three parts. The first part is entitled The Lull. It consists of 5 chapters. The second part, The Storm, which consists of 6 chapters, and the last and third part is The Aftermath of 1 chapter. We will learn about them in the sequence as they will come. In the previous lecture, I gave you the summary of first 3 chapters of the part 1, The Lull, which is a symbolic name, means calm. That is before violence started in India during 1947, which depicted in this novel. There was a calm, and this calm was indicative of a great violence which was about to come. So after 3 chapters, now let us come to chapter number 4. As in the chapter 3rd, we came to the Arun was remembering his affair with Noor. Arun loved Noor, Noor loved Arun. This was well-known fact, and it was known to all their classmates and many others also. And it was taken by them as a normal activity, and there was no objection of any kind at that time. But as the announcement of the Pakistan was made by the Viceroy on the 3rd June 1947, he became a Hindu boy and she became a Muslim girl. And the Muslim students or his classmates were watching their activities menacingly, that is threateningly. On the 4th of June, the Viceroy in a press conference declared that the government, the British government, which earlier decided that India will be given freedom in January 1948, they have preponed the, you can say, freedom. Now India would be granted freedom in August 1947. And as they are going to be 2 countries, so a boundary commission was formed. And the 6 were claiming before the boundary commission that the line of division should be based on Chenab basis. And they were important force. So Lala Kasiram thought that if it is accepted by the Britishers, then Sialkot will be a part of India, and he was happy to think so. But Arun, who was a practical person, he knew that boundary was going to be at the Ravi Basin, not at the Chenab. That is, Sialkot will be a part of Pakistan. It is well known to him. Anyway, he was so much attached with the city of Sialkot that he declared, "It will continue to be my city, whether I live here or not." He will be always attached to Sialkot. As this announcement created a different environment in the whole country, so there were hostilities, tension, barely some unwanted incidents started taking place. But Arun's routine life was normal. He did not change his routine life. He used to take his bicycle, used to roam, wander where he used to go earlier. Morning walk, attending college, playing tennis in the evening. It was his normal routine. One day in the college, he saw Noor and asked her to see him behind the canteen. Noor promised him and he was waiting under a tree behind the canteen in the college campus. Then he remembers how he met Noor, how their love affair started. That once Noor was going on foot towards her home, he was on bicycle, he offered her a lift, and then that time onward they started coming close to each other and the love affair started between them. Now the change in the changed environment, Noor was expecting that Arun would embrace Islam for her sake. That is, Arun will become a Muslim for her love. Arun also wanted to become a Muslim, but he then thought of other things in his life, about his parents, about the changed circumstances, and then he decided not to do which he earlier decided to do. Arun thought, why should I become a Muslim? Why shouldn't you? That is, if you love me, why shouldn't you become a Hindu? Then she replied. Then he replied, because I am a girl and am defenseless. You cannot force my will on my family, and because you are a man more independent than me, and I expect you to defend me and make sacrifices for me. That's why. As women were not given equal rights, they were not have that kind of freedom which man had. So she was not in a position to take that kind of decision. But Arun told her, categorically made it clear to her, you know I love you and will do anything for you. But soon it will cease to be a question of personal love. My parents are old and they'll be hard hit if they are obliged to leave. I'll have to go with them to help resettle them somewhere, but maybe I'm back and then we can marry the way you wish. This was not acceptable to Noor. She rounded on him, said, oh, go and die somewhere. You are a Hindu, after all, a Hindu, too timid, very coward. You don't deserve my love. This was her decision. This was the, you can say, a meeting between Noor and Arun. And with this came to an end the love affair between them. Then the author tells us about, in flashback, of Lala Kasiram and Barkat Ali in 1930. That is 17 years ago, when Gandhi visited Sialkot and they attended that meeting. That is described by the author. That both of them, that Lala Kasiram and Chaudhry Barkat Ali, they went to see Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was about to come at 11 a.m., but he came late by 3 hours. They reached before time and they settled somewhere 17 or 20 yards away from the stage, and when Gandhi came, they were able to see him. They saw that Gandhi was a normal person. His dress was abnormal. He was wearing a pair of spectacles. His torso was bare, a lined cloth, and he was just having like a normal person. Then in his speech, Gandhi exhorted all the audience that every Muslim should accept a Hindu as his brother, and every Hindu should make a Muslim his brother from that time onward. This was accepted both by Lala and Barakat Ali, and they made each other their brother. And this continued throughout their life. Both of them started wearing khadi, following Gandhism, etc. They were so much impressed by Gandhi. Now we are again in the present. When Arun came, Noor had gone, he saw Munir. Munir, after assessing the situation, Munir told him that he was waiting here for a long time as he was busy in conversation with Noor. And he should be realistic. He should stop meeting with Noor altogether because others will not accept it. Means there was a change in the behavior of Munir also, or he started suspecting that there may be caused harm to Arun by other people. Then Arun started making horse or pressurizing Munir. Then Munir said, okay, you can meet her, but you will see her only in my presence. So other will not doubt about it. Then the very important is in this chapter that Arun and Munir were friends from the childhood, and how they happened to be a friend of Sergeant Bill Davidson. This has been described in detail, and Bill Davidson has made very important comments about the mental level or about the weakness in the vision of Indian leaders of that time. Now, what happened that Munir and Arun, both of them had gone to a cinema in a matinee show. It was a rule that after the show is over, everyone should stand up to give respect to the national anthem of the Britishers. Arun and Munir, they wanted to go without showing respect. They were stopped by one Englishman, that is Bill Davidson, and they had a conversation. They were attracted towards each other, and Bill Davidson took both of them to his home. In the barrack, there he told about himself that he had been in India for the last 3 years and he has liked India. It's a good country. Then he made his ideas about Indian people, Indian politicians, and about democracy. Then he said that as far as his personal views are concerned, he regards British rule in India as injustice and was certain it would end soon. As he was not in favor of imperialism. Why? Because he had seen what his people had done in Malaya and Africa before he was posted to India. He had seen there he had seen local cultures had been destroyed everywhere. More so in India, which had such a long history and tradition. During their conversation, they started coming closer and closer with each other. And in a reference, he mentioned or he called Gandhi Bloody Gandhi. This caused annoyance between the three. Then he explained that bloody is a good English slang. When you slang, and in slang, it is often used by English people, and there it means endearment, and he has used that word in that sense. Then it was okay between the two. And then he expressed his views about India's freedom. He says, I am indeed sorry if I hurt your feelings. What I really meant was the Indian leaders were pushing things too fast. India should first prepare herself for freedom. This is very important remarks that Indian leaders, without having a vision, without having thinking of the future, what could be the situation, they are just demanding freedom, freedom. They will not be able to handle it carefully. He further says, according to the British, the Indian must arrive at their freedom slowly. They must get there by stages. They must educate themselves to be free. First, they should learn what are the rights of a free citizen, what are his duty, etc. They should learn. Then only that country should be given freedom. And India must follow this. But Indian leaders, the British, they were not of the same opinion. They used to say that the British government used all these arguments only to prolong their stay here, not in the interest of India, but in their own interest. Will told them, don't get me wrong, I am not advocating continued British rule. What I mean is haste will lead to fragmentation. In the interest of a united India, the delay of a month or a year won't hurt. It would rather strengthen the nation if the Indian leaders were not too rash. Means Indians are in a haste. They want only freedom without having a vision for the future. He also made it very clear to them that I am a friend in the cause of freedom and not a foe, means enemy. It was a shame they were not united in their demands. He had good opinions about Indian leaders. The Indian leaders are not united. They had different issues, different goals, etc., etc. But freedom was their birthright and they should get it. Then he also made it very clear to Arun and Mir, India is going to be free and we are really going to quit. We means Britishers are really giving Indians freedom. Well, you will have two nations instead of one. Then he made very sarcastic remarks, and this is the reality, that Indian leaders were asking for the freedom of one nation and they are giving them two free nations. So it is a expensive improvement. Indian leaders have made very great improvement. He says, if you must ask me, I think this is the most of the partition about which Viceroy made a statement that India will be divided into two countries. On this issue, Bill Davidson says, if you must ask me, I think this is the most stupid, most damaging, and most negative development in the history of the freedom struggle here. And this time it is we, that is the Britishers, who are pushing things. Then he tried to make Munir and Arun understand their effort, which was not well taken by the leaders of the Indian freedom struggle movement. He said that last year the cabinet mission plan of the last year was the best plan that could have been devised for the future of India. Indian leaders unfortunately did not see its merit and foolishly threw it away. But we, the British, should have stood by that plan. This is the ideal views, or these are the views of Bill Davidson. He said, if Indians would have got given freedom according to cabinet mission, there would have been no problem. 6 months more of a negotiation and the political parties would have come round. He said the Indian leaders were not ready, but at the same time, British government was not in really wanted. Otherwise, they would have taken 6 more months, and all the leaders would have been under pressure, and they would have accepted it. Then he says, according to cabinet mission, that plan offered everything. The country to be grouped in three semi-independent areas, and the right of secession, that is withdrawal, was there too. That any part, any, you can say, king or state might have joined this group or that group, left that group. Then he said that you people are feeling very happy that it is Viceroy Lord Mountbatten who has given us freedom, but this is not the truth. Actually, you are not able to understand the policy of the Britishers. He made it very clear. He says, you may sing songs in honor of Mountbatten, as I believe you have started doing, but he has duped you into a division of the country. Even Gandhi and Nehru failed to hold their balance before him. Jinnah, I never counted for much. They have all fallen for a handy price, not realizing the misery it will heap on the masses. Then their meeting came to an end. Both Munir and Arun, they decided to go to their respective residences. When they parted at the railway chowk, Munir going home towards Mainpura and Arun cycling on towards Trunk Bazaar, they said only a barely audible good night to each other. That is, it is symbolic that there was a change in the attitude of both of them. This was chapter number 4. Now let us the chapter number 5. That is the last chapter of the part 1, the lull. That is calm. Now in Sialkot there had been quite, or Sialkot would have been, was very peaceful for 20 days. That is, it was declared on 3rd June and up to 23rd June. It was quite peaceful in Sialkot. The first riot took place in Sialkot on the 24th June. It is true that there had been riots in many cities of Punjab and other parts of the country such as Lahore, Amritsar, Ambala, Rawalpindi, Multan. But in Sialkot, it was quite peaceful, and it was because of that deputy commissioner, Pran Nath. And on 23rd June, Legislative Assembly of Punjab formally decided in Lahore to opt for the partition of the province. That Punjab should be divided into two parts. One part should go with India and other parts should go with Pakistan. The Muslims of Sialkot were very happy by this decision of the assembly, and they broke loose the following day and killed a number of Hindus. That they became enthusiastic about the Pakistan and started killing Hindus. And then it became almost a daily ritual. 4 or 5 cases of stabbing every day took place. They were killed. Dead bodies were found by the police. As nobody reported, there were no witness, so no FIR was registered. Then, beside this, incidents of fire lighting, that many people started lighting the house property of Hindus. This is because there were many Muslim refugees who were coming from different parts of India. They told that they have been caused much torture, they have been beaten, looted by Hindus and Sikhs there, and this incited the local Muslims and the problem started. First massive violence in Sialkot took place, particularly in a Hindu mohalla, Dharowal. It was looted and burned down. All the houses of Hindus were burned down. They were beaten, killed, etc., etc. Means all kinds of sorrows were inflicted on these people. Then about the law and order, police, it appeared police was helpless, and some or most of the policemen are Muslims. They were unwilling to give safety to Hindus. So it was suggested that they should go to refugee camp. Lala Kasiram never knew what a refugee camp is. So he asked, what is a refugee camp? Then Arun told him it means a camp for people seeking shelter. Now it became clear to Lala how vulnerable the minority community was, that is Hindu community was, and that he too soon might have to live. As situation was worsening day by day, so he realized that it is very difficult for minority people, that is Hindu Sikh, to live there, and they will have to live. Lala shouted, I was born around here. This is my home. How can I be a refugee in my own home? You see, this is the pain which was reflected in words. Arun again suggested that they would have to leave. Then Lalaji says, why can't the government protect us? I have seen communal rights before in this country. How were the English able to put them down? That is, his love for the land order maintained by the Britishers was reflected in these lines. He said, if incapable, we Indian had no right to ask for freedom. If the Indian leaders, Indian force, the same force is there, they cannot maintain land order, then they have no right to ask for freedom. And he also suggested that if Indian leaders cannot handle it, then leave it to the English to handle emergencies. He was so confident that English people could maintain law and order. He suggested English army was withdrawn, so should be taken into active role. Whereas the situation was, or the reality was, English army was withdrawn from active service and was confined to the barracks. Leaders were urging people not to go and stay where they were. Gandhi and other leaders said people should not leave this place, their native place. Lala realizes the average run of people did not have the courage to play with the might of the government. They ran amok only as long as they knew the government was weak or when they knew it was behind them. Lalaji was worried and he told to his wife, Arun mothers, I am an old man and I can't begin all over again. His tone was mournful, though he spoke with dignity. I am here to help you, Father said. The idea is that now his hope was dwindling. But there was Arun who was supporting, or who was giving moral support to his father. The pinch, that is the real pain of Lalaji is he should have to give up this land, this earth, this air. That is where the heart lay. He was not worrying about the property and etc., but his native place was, or he was forced to leave that place. This was hurting him too much. Then he shouted with the members of the community, we aren't leaving yet, he said aloud. He would become a Muslim to stay here if need be. This was said to himself. To others, he only said, we aren't leaving yet. Then Abdul Ghani, who was his neighbor, shopkeeper, he started making taunt against him, and he said, when are you leaving Kasirama? Then Lala Kasiram asked him why he wanted that he should leave when they have been living together, they were friends, he helped him in the past. So then Abdul Ghani replied, I want you to leave because you are a Hindu and you don't believe in Allah. Then there was a change in the strategy of the writers. The next week, each night systematically one Hindu mullah was burned down in Sialkot. Many Sikhs and Hindus left Sialkot and they went to India. On 22nd July, both Hindus and Muslim leaders and VIP people, important people of the city, they appeared and requested people that they should protect their brothers, that is minority, that is Hindu and Sikhs. But it was of no avail. Lala Kasiram was convinced that they would return to their homes after some time. So, no, there was no point in living. They all agreed and secretly they hoped they were right. And though the night defense system still worked in the mohalla, they locked up the big gates on both ends and the young men patrolled the streets in 3-hour shifts. The number of families had dwindled to less than half. Means the people, some people who had no option, they tried to live there. They made all kinds of efforts to make their stay safe. But the situation was worsening day by day. One day, Lala Kasiram's shop was looted. Even his shop was looted. This was a very, you can say, painful moment for Lalaji. He came running and he was asked by his family members some questions and he told he could not lock his shop and he had to run, and when he saw from the distance that his shop was looted by rioters. One day Barkat Ali came and told, Barkat Ali, who was his brother, Muslim brother, he came to Lalaji's residence and told, this street is going to be looted and burned tonight at 11. You must leave at once. He also told that during the meeting which was decided, he gave arguments in the Muslim meetings, tried for peace that they should not do, but he was not in a position to control them. It was already decided. And he also told that the Deputy Commissioner was also murdered last night by the Muslim guard. He had a guard. He wanted to show that both Hindus and Muslim are with him. As he was a Hindu, so he had a guard, and that guard shot him. And Barkat Ali also said that that guard might be awarded by the Pakistani government a medal for this achievement. So it was a inhuman activity, and in Pakistan, inhuman activities were going to be awarded. Then, as this was a danger, as it was indicated by Barkat Ali, so all decided, all the members, Bibi Amarvatis, Niranjan Singh, they were all of the same way that they should go to refugee camp. Except there is one member, Mukunda's mother. Mukunda's mother is very short, but it is very strange. Her son Mukunda was in jail, and she declared that unless until he came back from jail, she will not go anywhere. Lala had 3,000 rupees which he brought 2 weeks ago. So he asked his wife to took all the money and important goods which are required, and Bill Davidson arranged 2 trucks for them. Bill Davidson came and he was introduced to Lala Kasiram by Munir and Arun, that is known to him. And it is also told to Lalaji by Arun that he is of the same opinion. He too disagrees with the partisan. Lalaji became very emotional, and told, he expressed his views before Bill Davidson. You were our Sirkar, our masters, and I and millions like me gave you our complete loyalty. While striking a deal with these leaders, did you ever think of us? Did you for one moment consider what might befall us? Freedom, to be sure, we welcome it, but why the violence? It is the denial of what English stood for during 200 years in this country, and it is the English who have biggest hand in this. This was a kind of comment. If we make analysis of the whole novel, that these leaders, for their selfish motives, they caused a lot of problem for the common people. This is stated in this statement. So now all have decided. So Gangu Mal, husband of Bibi Amarvati, Suraj Prakar, their son, Suranda with her two children, and other members, Sikh members, Ishar Kaur, etc., they all sat into the trucks. But Mukunda's mother did not come. Lala Kasiram was asked to go and bring her. He, along with Suraj Prakash and Arun, went inside the building and forcefully took her and placed her in the trunk so that she should not be killed by the riders. But she became very violent. She started quarreling with everyone. She tried to pull hair of Bibi Amarvati and rebuked all Lalaji and etc. And then she got a chance and jumped off the truck and went inside the building. Then nobody went after her. She was left in the building, and other members, they decided to go into the refugee camp. Then the author has also described in this chapter the relation between Sunanda Bhabi and Arun. Sunanda, as you know, was married to Suraj Prakash, the adopted son of Bibi Amarvati and Gangu Mal. He got married because of his property, as he was heir to a big property. He was good for nothing. Sunanda Bhabi and Arun, they were close to each other. Arun attended her marriage. He went in the Bharat. Then he came, he saw her, and she was also attracted towards Arun. She used to ask him small tasks to do, and he used to do very easily. She was ever so demanding, but Arun's answer was an immediate, yes, Bhabhi, I will do it, I will do it. On other times, she kissed him on his cheeks or held his hand in hers and said, what a nice boy you are. He was impressed by her beauty and he was attached towards her, but not that kind of relation, but as there was a gap of about 7 years between them. And soon they reached in the cantonment zone, or you can say army camp. With this, the part first of the novel, that is the lull, came to an end. In this part, we are not given the description of the violent and inhuman activities that took place. There were some activities, some incidents, looting and etc., killing, but they were not inhuman, as we will see in the second part, that is the storm. as I have told you that I have decided to give you the summary in detail so that if you have not gone through the original text, you should be able to understand what is inside the book. Thank you very much.